For you, I'm curious about your like daily training routine. It may be different, but for people listening, like what is your daily routine if on an average day when you're training, getting ready for something like a hard training day, what does
Yeah.
that look like for you? Are you
Like
lifting in the morning?
what's my daily like?
Daily, like, yeah,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah. So my day is basically every single day is always the same except for Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekends. So let's say a Monday, I wake up at 7 a.m. I go to training at 8 a.m. and I train from 8 a.m. to 10 with John at the morning session. After that, I go home, I eat something, and then I teach a private lesson from 11 to 12 o'clock. After that, I do stuff that I need to do around the house, laundry, just house stuff. And then I go and I train again at 3, um, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. After that, I teach a private lesson from 5 to 6, and then I teach a private lesson from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. So I'm training twice a day, and I'm teaching 3 times a day. And I felt like teaching helped me out a lot in my jiu-jitsu because I you learn something twice, the first time somebody teaches it to you and the first time you teach it to somebody else. And I'm constantly rehearsing in my head, making techniques conscious rather than subconscious.
Mm.
Um, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I lift in the mornings. And on the weekends, we don't have morning class. So I fill that up with some private lessons. Or if I'm feeling extra beat up, I give myself the ability to sleep in a little bit. But every single day is filled with a lot of teaching, a lot of training, and stuff that is important for my jiu-jitsu development.
Cool. And then what's the intensity of those training sessions? Are they both like, is there like one that's like a hard session, one's more of a drilling session, or are they both just really intense training sessions where you're getting after it?
It depends. It
Mm.
depends. The thing is, like, we don't train extremely hard all the time because then you're just
Sure.
always going to be hurt and you're never going to want to train. Okay.
Right.
Like, for example, an 8 a.m. session is never going to be as intense as a 3 p.m. session. You know
Sure.
why? Because it's 8 in the fucking
You
morning,
just woke
dude.
up.
You just fucking woke up. Yeah, it's just the reality of shit, you know? And if we're just fucking scrapping now for ADCC, we were just fighting each other. At like 8 in the fucking morning, we had John start us do these fucking exhausting fucking drills where you're just like, fuck. But it really depends on just the way the room looks. Sometimes there's a day we go extremely light. Everybody's
Yeah.
fluent. Sometimes there's a day fucking everybody wraps up the intention. You hear it in John's voice. You see it in the way we're drilling, see the techniques we're drilling, and it's time to get after it.
Yeah.
Closer to competition, it's time to get after it. But it's definitely like a more of a medium level of intensity that you could sustain year round. You don't want it to be too light that you don't get better, but you don't want it
Yeah.
to be too hard that you're just having a bad time.
Gotcha. I think it's important because I think that sometimes, like, I just from talking with people with what I do, they watch like the highlight video that they'll see on Flow or the highlight video that they'll see,
Yeah.
and they'll only have the clips of guys beating the living tar out of each other. And it's like that happens for sure, but there's a lot of really relatively boring looking training that's happening most of the time. Like you said, that's more sustainable to you year round that you're doing that again doesn't make for a good highlight, but it makes for great training.
Yeah, like for example, John will have us drill stuff, and I'm just like, "Fuck, this is nonsense." I mean, it's not nonsense. Don't get that wrong, but it's like, it's we're drilling the same thing over and over again. Well,
Mhm.
guess fucking what? When you go out and compete, those things that seem so mundane are the things that win you matches. Like
Mhm.
for example, somebody shoots on the legs, digging an underhook and pulling him up off your legs. We drill that all the time. It seems like such a mundane technique. You could teach anybody to do it. Well, we have to do it over and over again. Guess what? I had somebody shoot on my legs at the Submission Hunter Pro. I dug an overhook, not an underhook, and I lift him up. As he kept the
Mhm.
push into me, I skied him with an Uchimata. All the drilling that John made us do in these positions that seem mundane was the reason why I was able to stop a shot and pick somebody's arm up into a throw. Stuff like that is really what wins you matches.
Then going back to that, then another question I guess to ask you, and this is another thing that comes up with people that I communicate with. There's like this thing in jiu-jitsu now where again, there's different types of drilling, of course, but there's like guys that will say, "Oh, you don't drill anymore, just roll or whatever." The drilling is just there's no point in it, whatever. What is your thoughts on, and what has been your experience with drilling, and maybe the types of drilling that have been beneficial to you?
So that's a really good question, and I have a very good answer for it. A lot of people can when they drill something, drilling versus going live,
Yeah.
let's just say you were never taught technique. And since you were a child, you just were on the mats doing jiu-jitsu with people. You didn't pay any attention to technique. And you just kind of watched stuff, saw what happened, and you just did jiu-jitsu. You just came and you rolled live. You'd be pretty fucking good, right? Now, let's say that you never did any of that, but you were taught technique and then you went into it. It's the same thing as learning a language versus speaking a language. Can you speak English? Yes, you can speak English, right? Can you teach me how to speak English? You can. So it's the difference doing jiu-jitsu versus learning how to do jiu-jitsu. A lot of people can do jiu-jitsu, but they can't teach you how to do jiu-jitsu or learn jiu-jitsu. But of course, the best is to do both, drilling in combination with live training.
Sure.